So Battlefield released a new trailer this morning, and I wanted to kind of talk about it, break it down, see everything that you may have missed, because this bad boy is packed with some pretty cool details. So without further ado, remember, if you do enjoy today's video, don't forget to leave it a nice, thick, and juicy like as always. Of course, if you enjoy this kind of content, you want more like it, be sure to hit that big red sexy subscribe button right underneath the video. Also gotta thank my channel members. You guys help make these videos possible. If you're enjoying, get access to the exclusive perks that they get. Be sure to check out that blue join button. Anyway, let's begin. First up is going to be Renewal, which is the most interesting looking map in my opinion. I've thought this ever since they announced it. You have the two different sides of the map that are separated by this wall that reminds me of Caspian. It just looks very, very unique. And as we can see, actually getting to see some real gameplay of the map. Obviously, it's probably scripted a good bit, but being able to actually see the map, you can see that there's some pretty interesting stuff here. The desert side of the map looks like it's going to be very fun for things like Jeeps and quad bikes and things like that. You can leap around a lot of these rock formations, and there's of course the very tight areas around the solar farms. Don't know that those are going to be very good for infantry given what we saw in, say, the Hazard Zone trailer. It doesn't look like that kind of an area. It's definitely something for the light vehicles and the fast vehicles and the vehicles that can kind of move around, jump around, and it's going to make for some pretty interesting gameplay in my opinion. And then on the grassland side, it looks like you have kind of, the checkpoint from the desert side, and then the buildings are going to be more infantry focused. But I am a little bit concerned at a lot of the seemingly empty grassland way on the outside. Maybe it's intended for vehicle play, maybe not all of that is playable, that's just background area, but it looks a little open and I'm worried about it just being wasted space because you're kind of advertising these big maps, but as we saw in the beta, some of the space is wasted if you look at it, just was. So I'm worried that this could be the case here. Then again, it could just be the angles only showing us so much of the map, so we'll have to see with that one. Regardless, this map still looks very interesting, especially if I can blow up that wall. Now, as we get into the actual gameplay, we do get Irish using the DM7. It does have a very nice looking sniper scope on it. Gotta say, it looks a lot better than the scope that we got in the beta, and I really hope that they kind of strengthened the DMRs after the beta, because they were just like, talk about shooting noodles, they were basically useless. So this does look like about the age of the beta build, so I don't expect too many changes here. It looks like a similar kind of 3 to 4 shot kill. Regardless, it is cool to see Irish deploy his shield, and this shot just looks very, very good with a tank rolling by and everything like that. In the next clip, we get the return of the PKP LMG from BF4. I'm sure many of you remember that one, but this time, this is the newer build. As we can see, the point stack is in the middle, and the UI in general just looks a lot cleaner. The gameplay in general just looks a lot cleaner looking at this clip. This isn't quite the day zero UI, but this could also hint that if it is, maybe we can customize the UI to our own liking. Say you like the original UI, you can have that, or if you want the newer one that they showed off in the changes video, you can have that as well. Regardless, the PKP looks very, very strong here, and it's nice to see it return to the game. If you also look at the heads-up display down below, you can see that the MP28 sidearm is there. Now, it's not clear whether this is a carbine sidearm, like a pistol carbine, or if this is, say, an automatic pistol that you can convert to, like, let's say the Glock 18 from Battlefield 4. It's not clear on whether or not this is one or the other, but we do know that it's the MP28 because Temporeal data mined it, and it is cool to see it here in the trailer. Next up is Breakaway, the biggest map in the game, and this bad boy is thick, coming in at 5 square kilometers. It's giant. So all you can see here in this shot is all you can go to. Also gotta say, the smoke billowing in from the mountains looks like an awesome atmospheric touch. Just gives it that nice Battlefield feel of being in a small part of a much larger conflict. The first bit of gameplay shows Sundance fly in with her wingsuit and then get a kill with her DM7. Now, as she heads down the mountain after the kill, we can see a little bit of environmental destruction down below. It's not anything major. No one hits it with an RPG, but it's one of those things that makes the map feel alive as a little bit of ice falls off of a glacier, and it's just a cool small thing, and hopefully hints at larger environmental organic interactions with the world to help these maps feel alive. Obviously, it doesn't need to be a nuisance, but I do imagine if you're standing under that, it may kill you. Now, the next cool thing is going to be in the next clip, actually, as we get a look at McKay holding an AK-24, but fitted out to be something that we haven't seen before, with a what appears to be 3x scope, as it says UH3 underneath the scope. And when he zooms in later on in the clip, you can see it zooms in a good bit. So I'm assuming this is a 3x scope. You also have the big old drum magazine underneath. So this is a nice setup for the AK that I think shows off some really cool customization that we can have within the game to really change these weapons into whatever we want them to be and add our own personality to them. Next up is Discarded. Of course, this map looks pretty interesting as the big tanker ship we're zooming in on apparently has a nuclear bomb inside, and I'm wondering if we can detonate that bad boy and make some crazy levolution happen on this map. That could be pretty awesome to see. But as you can see, there's also some nice foliage on the map, so this might be more of a jungle tight-knit sort of map. As we see in the gameplay, we get to see Dozier using a shotgun seemingly in the shadow of the tanker ship, and it's very tight-knit here in the muddy area. So all these shipping containers have kind of crashed on the ground, and it just looks very crazy. He's using the 12M auto shotgun, which is the Saiga 12 from Battlefield 4, if you guys remember that one. But it's nice to see it make a return, and it's nice to see it with this cool little scope on it. After that, he gets picked up by a really cool landing shot from one of the little birds, and then we go into the little bird's point of view, and you can see there is something pretty concerning to me with this little bird, and that is the 20mm cannons that are equipped. Now, if I remember correctly, the guns that the little bird had in the beta were the 7.62 miniguns. Those didn't do too much damage. They felt like sort of a finishing tool once you fired off your rocket pods to kind of get any stragglers. Regardless, the little birds were still a bit OP in the beta, as were all the helicopters really, if you think about it. And so I'm worried with the amount of splash damage that we see in this clip from the 20mm cannons, if it's actually going to make these even more ridiculous as vehicles. Of course, the rocket pods are equipped. We don't get to see if those have had any changes to them. That is something that I think we will need to see, and I definitely hope it's something DICE is looking at, as this build doesn't look quite like the final build, but it's definitely one that's a little bit newer than what the beta was. So I'm curious to see if they did make any changes after the beta to the helicopters and the balancing and everything like that, because if the helicopters are too easy to use, that could absolutely ruin the gameplay. Just look at what happened with a lot of the Pacific maps in Battlefield 5. Sure, they're very fun, they're well designed, but when the Zero pilots show up and they just start goobering everyone with their rockets, it's not very fun. So vehicle balance is going to be a big deal. As we saw in the beta, it is a big deal, and I'm hoping that there is some balancing going on so that we can have an enjoyable experience once we get hands-on with the game on launch. Regardless, let me know down below what you guys think about this trailer. Do you think that we saw any cool stuff? Do you think that there's anything that you're very excited to try out on these new maps? Let me know down below. Let's have a conversation, and I'll see you guys in the next video.